Happy Tuesday, everyone. Welcome back to the Rodeo Joe Show. This is episode 11. I am going to briefly cover the game that was played last night between Cincinnati and Pittsburgh. And then I will also go over the upcoming Thursday night matchup to start Week 5 with the Rams and the Seahawks. It's going to be a short episode, but as many of you that listen to the channel know that it will be. Well, let's just get right into it. Last night, you had the 0-3 Bengals and the 0-3 Steelers, so something had to give. I mean, I said this before that whoever won this game, even depending on how they won it, it didn't matter in my opinion, and it still doesn't. You still have things to work on because the team that you just beat isn't very good and isn't playing to the level that it's supposed to be playing at and what many expected them to play at. But with that being said, Pittsburgh pulled it off. Big lopsided win, 27-3. You give Pittsburgh some credit because they came out and they, obviously did what they were supposed to do and win the game. It looked like early on it might be a little ugly. They just seemed to have some strange play calling that, the Bengals played, somewhat relatively good defense, forced an early turnover, got quick 3 points midway through the first quarter. You thought, hey, well, this might be pretty interesting, but I think the real theme of this game was just how bad Cincinnati played. It's got to be like the worst offensive line that is in this league right now. They've got a lot of injuries across the line. I get that, but they just seem to just miss on a lot of these guys, and I don't understand it. I mean, everybody wants to crack on the offensive line, and, they have very good reason to, obviously, if you watch last night's game. But it's not like they're not trying to go out and get people in free agency, and it's not like they're not making it a top concern. The last two first-rounders have been offensive linemen, and so I don't know what to say. It's just things aren't working out. It's just going to be a rough season this year. I mean, when you've seen how well they played in the first game of the season, he kind of had this idea that, well, maybe they might shock the world. They might start, really impressing people with what they were able to do. I mean, they surely impressed me. But yeah, this is the team that a lot of us saw last year dropping I believe it was the last six out of the 7 games last season. Starting off the season, what were they, 3-0, and then they finished the season 6-10. So it's just, it's going to be a tough year. Not outside the possibilities of a top 5 pick. I mean, it's just that simple. They, on top of the offensive line, I don't really put a whole lot on their defense because, like I said, Pittsburgh was playing a good game plan of kind of mixing things up and not really allowing, they're kind of keeping in a good rhythm, and it kept them on their toes and stuff. So it wasn't this, and they were on the field, most of the game. I mean, I know Cincinnati had the time of possession, but that's just because, they scored, they scored 5 times on us. So, I mean, that's you're going to be out there when you get 5 more chances because, they score on you. But it's just, I don't know. I look at Cincinnati offensively too, and I even think when they get their offensive line in check, I still think they'll have issues. because we just have this, this short intermediate passing game going. And we've really, we can't get the run established. And you can't really, that's kind of a hard game plan to instill when you can't run the ball. I mean, it's just, I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of it. I like it when it can be successful, but I don't like it with our personnel because I like having that, but then also having a quarterback that has the ability to go over the top and throw deep down the field, and Dalton just doesn't have that. And I don't think Finley really has it either. So they just seem too predictable to me, and just a lot of bad throws on Dalton's behalf last night. I think he finished the day with 177 yards passing, but I mean he got sacked 8 times. It's just that's a career high for him. It was just a mess of a game. There's, like I said, you tip your hat off to Pittsburgh, but they have a lot to work on too. They didn't play impressive by any means. They just beat a really bad team, and it's going to be a tough test for them this week. They got Baltimore this week, so we'll see how that kind of plays out for them, because don't use this game to evaluate what you got, and I'm certainly sure it's not a confidence builder. I mean, it might be to them, but I wouldn't take anything from it. Because like I said, this just seems like this with the Bengals, it just seems like the same old team. It's kind of unfortunate. It makes for a very long season, and it's disappointing for sure. But moving on from that, let's talk about the Thursday night matchup between the Rams and Seahawks. It'll be a good divisional game. Both teams sit 3-1. Seattle's favorite by a 1.5 points. That's fair to say, I think. I think it'll be a close game. I look for Seattle to win this game. I think that the Rams are, they really hit a buzzsaw last week with the Buccaneers, and it was just amazing the way that team was able to throw against them. And I'm just not sold on them yet. I mean, I think their defense can be elite at times, but obviously you've seen what they did on Sunday, and I'm not sold on Jared Goff either. I think they'll bounce back. They'll bounce back and they'll play well, but I really do like Seattle, given it's at home. It's just it's one of those games you can kind of pick it, but this looks like it's one of the more interesting divisions in the league. So look forward to it. It should be a good matchup. I just look for Seattle to pull that off. It won't be pretty. It won't be flashy. It'll just be downright ball control. Look for Russell Wilson just to be very careful with the ball, and the running game to be well established and a good balanced attack. But this is kind of a game where the Rams have to really bounce back, or else they could really find themselves in a dark place in this division if they really want a shot at repeating as NFC champs. But as I'm sure it is their aspirations, it's going to be a lot tougher this year for sure. That division is a 3-headed monster. So look forward to a good game. I think it will be pretty close. I see it within that kind of 1.5 point range, 3-point game, something like that, really close. That's about all I got to say about that game. And before I forget, I mentioned something about this, I think, yesterday. And I was going to just briefly go over my picks that I've had and how good I've done, and kind of that might be something I'll probably do every, it's just like a quarterly thing, maybe monthly thing. And we'll just kind of see where I sit and kind of how good I am at predicting these games. And I'm going to tell you guys, I've said it before, I am not somebody you want to take to Vegas and take on the parlay. I know a lot about football. I know what I'm talking about. At least I like to think I know what I'm talking about. But through 4 weeks, I covered 46 games, and I managed to rack up a very, very disappointing 21-25 record. So let's hope that, weeks 5 through 8 treat me a little bit better. I don't know if it could get any worse, but, hey, it can only go up now. But thanks, guys, again. That wraps up today's episode. Look forward to coming in here on Friday and giving you guys another episode. And until then, smash that like and subscribe if you haven't already. I appreciate doing this for you guys, and I will talk to you guys on Friday.